once there was a boy named Bob.
That's all you're going to get me to go on?
Yes.
Okay. Bob was stranded on an island. But not your typical island. Not your typical stranding. He wasn't actually alone. He just felt very alone. And it wasn't tropical. It was cold. In spite of the fact that there were palm trees.
Bob's island wasn't flat at all. Bob had lived on this island for the last 2 years. He had been shipwrecked here, and the island itself had a huge mountain that led all the way up to a semi-active volcano. It smoked every couple weeks, and when Bob really wanted to get warm, he walked up top and looked inside.
But this island was no ordinary island. It was a ghost island.
The ghost island had many ghosts. Most of them chased him a lot. But somehow, out of a palm tree, he whacked them away.
The reason the ghosts chased him was because he smacked them with palm trees. It turns out they just wanted to be friends. But he didn't know. He'd never seen a ghost before, and 2 years later, he was still running.
Bob's ghosts had come from all over. As far as Bob knew, these ghosts had been here, but that wasn't the case. The volcano itself existed in many parallel universes. The island itself existed, and Bob's ghosts were other people on other islands, all trying to communicate, all looking like ghosts to each other.
One day, he managed to go away.
How he went away is he made a lot of palm tree leaves into a rubber band, put them on a string, and flung himself into oblivion.
That would have worked. He really wanted it to work. Except the ghosts from the parallel universe made a ghostly net and caught him and brought him back. The good thing was that it made him realize that the ghosts were actually people, maybe people he could communicate once he found himself wrapped in their arms. The bad thing about it was he was sort of afraid that they'd keep him from escaping.
Bob found out that the ghosts could hold some things on the island, even though he could see through them. The first thing he noticed was chalk. Bob painted the entire wall on the inside of his house a dark, dark black, and wrote his first note to the ghosts. It said, "My name is Bob. Can you hear me?"
The ghosts could hear him. So they wrote back, "Yes, I can hear you," in giant letters.
But they had a small ghost. He was a hamster, not that big. And his name was Jeff.
Jeff the hamster wanted to communicate with Bob more than any of the other ghosts because he had accidentally stepped in a hole on Bob's island and fell through to one of the parallel islands. He wanted to talk to Bob because he wanted to get home.
One night, Jeff took the piece of chalk and wrote as best a hamster could. He didn't write words. He drew a map. It was a map to where Jeff had fallen through, out of Bob's island and into another. And the next morning, when Bob saw the map, he knew exactly what it showed. It wasn't a treasure map, but it was a map of the island he was on, and he was going to follow it.
Bob tried to figure out how he would get into the volcano without burning himself. So he took some palm trees, took a leaf, and made a glove. It wasn't that fireproof, but it could sustain the lava for a little while.
Because obviously, Bob had to traverse the fiery pit to get to the hole on the ledge where Jeff fell through. It was going to be a perilous journey. But he was sure now that maybe he shouldn't be afraid of the ghost, but he still didn't know why. And he had nothing better to do on the island, so he was going to follow the map.
Bob did follow it. He walked up the side of the volcano. It hadn't rumbled in several days, but it was making a little bit of smoke. He put on his protection against the fire and looked over the edge. He could see a shining hole mere feet below where he was. He pulled off a vine that he had woven into a rope and climbed down. And in seconds, he had made the hole large enough that his feet could fit through. And then his body. And then Bob was gone.
In that parallel universe, he didn't just meet the hamster. He met a giraffe. I don't know how he got there, but somehow he made it there. No one knows why. And his name was Pumpkin.
Jeff and Pumpkin were friends, but they usually fought with giant tree sticks.
Tree sticks from the fir trees on the island. Because where Bob found himself looked like his island, and yet it didn't. This island was warm and had fir trees? Christmas trees? On a warm island? I guess it's no weirder than the giraffe and the hamster being friends. So, Bob decided to roll with it. He had nothing better to do.
Bob had been on the island for mere hours when he noticed the islands were not the same. Not only did they have different trees, but they were different islands. They must just be in the same place in all of these different worlds. He had also left his rope hanging through the portal so he could get back whenever he wanted. He took his first adventure to the top of the volcano on this island and looked over the edge. And there was another portal, just like the one he had come through, but not leading back to his world, leading to a whole nother world. The portals weren't going in just two directions. They were all headed forward, and maybe if he went through enough, he could loop back around.
So he told the hamster and the giraffe, "Let's go jump in a volcano." Wow.
The hamster and the giraffe didn't know what he was saying, but since he gave them a thumbs up, they were going for it. If he gave them a PB&J.
Sandwiches. It turns out sandwiches are the road to both giraffe and hamster hearts. And luckily, Bob had come from his island prepared. They weren't actually PB&J because, well, deserted islands don't have PB&J. But they were the closest he could get with some berries mushed up on some coconut.
Bob and his new team, the giraffe and the hamster, needed to find more vines to twist into ropes. They were getting ready to go on a whole new adventure. And as soon as they geared up, they were going to head out. They were going to map all of these islands and find all of the other friends. Who knows what they would locate on Island 3 or 4, or Island 33 or 34. But they had all the time in the world, and that's what they were going to do.